Hello, welcome to the stream. Hold on, I gotta mute my phone so that it doesn't go off in the middle of stuff happening. Wicked Shart, what's up? How's it going? Welcome back. You came at a wonderful time for this stream. We're streaming early today. I got plans later, so figured I'd start now. We get a few hours in. This is the pajama stream. Now is the time. And when the viewer that redeemed the stream, hold on. There we go. Need to make sure I start my YouTube stream. Before going with this, there we go. Welcome to the pajama stream. The viewer that redeemed the reward on oh god, what day was it? Thursday? I think it was Thursday. It had to have been Thursday. We rolled the wheel, and I am now wearing my Charmander pajamas, and I decided that this would also be the day that we play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky for the first time. People love this game, or Mystery Dungeon fans love this game. I've never played it. I've only played Super and Rescue Team, and people say this is the best one. And I'm gonna play it. So let me get ready. And we'll get going. Boom! Charmander! Hello! Oh shit, it's kind of loud. It's fine. Let me grab my volume mixer. What's up? I will admit, it used to fit better on me. There we go. Let's turn that down on me. Boop. That's fine. This is the game we're playing now. Welcome. I got a new layout. Did your chat message pop up? I think it did. We got a new layout for DS games because that was a nightmare to figure out. I'm also having trouble deciding. So we got headphones over the hood, or we can do headphones under the hood. Hold on, let me fix my hair. Because the hood can fit over it, but I don't think it looks as good because it kind of widens off on the sides and you can't see the eyes as well. What do we think? Do we think over the hood? Probably. I think over the hood looks better. We're gonna do that. I'm already kind of warm, which is not a good sign. Let me grab my water. And that was the immediate problem that I thought that I would have during these streams. Over the hood's fine. It's not uncomfortable. These are really nice headphones, so they don't feel bad. But doing this, then it kind of looks like the Charmander is wearing the headphones too, you know? Oh yeah, it's definitely better over. As long as you can't see through you can't see my nipples. That'd be awkward. Hold on. I'm gonna do this. Maybe help. All right. Just a second. I do hope the person that redeemed this shows up. I guess they're working, aren't they? I think Sarah's working. They'll show up. It's fine. One second. How awkward would it be if I played this and I didn't get Charmander as my default character? That'd be really weird, unfortunate. There we go. Right. These do not fit me very much anymore. So I just zipped off the feet for him and threw him aside to make my life better. Yeah, we're doing Charmander stream today. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I've never played this game. So if you have played this game, don't tell me anything. This is blind. This is first experience. So I'm going in with nothing. Okay, I thought my controller wasn't working. I got concerned for a second. So what's the other demo dungeon? I don't think any of these are gonna work. So I'm just gonna let's just go in. Let's run it. Is music playing? Stop that. There we go. This is the portal that leads to the world inhabited only by Pokemon. Beyond this gateway, many new adventures and fresh experiences await your arrival. Before you depart your adventure, you must answer some questions. Be truthful. Are you ready? Did you play Explorers of Time or Darkness? Nope. That's a weird question, but okay. Did you play our other games? Interesting. You've been invited to a wonderful party. It's time for the party to start, but there's nobody there. Nice yeah, Sarah, what's up? It's PJ time. I even got, I guess I should show off the PJs. So we got Charmander hood. It's got the eyes and the face. He's a little smiley boy. The orange and the cream. And then it's also got, it's got a little tail in the back. We're gaming today. It's also already warm and I've been streaming for 13 minutes. So this might not this might become miserable pretty fast. we will see. Let me tell you, I can't I'm sure we'll get to a point where I can't wait to take these off. Crack a window. I could. I mean, that's not a terrible idea. A Niv. Thank you, chatbot, for giving me stellar text. Oh, I also have, so we have, so this is my layout for the game. But since it's a DS game, so the big screen is the bottom screen. That's where most of the stuff happens. So I've been told. And then the top screen is the smaller one right under me. But I also have, so if anything important, like cutscenes happen and need to take up both screens, I set up a macro to do this. So now both screens will be visible as they normally are for DS games. And that is toggleable. So whenever we need to have both screens up, I will try and be ready. Like I said, I've never played this game, so it might be a second. But this will be our layout for the most of the game, and then I can switch whenever something important feels like it's about to happen. So, we've been invited to a party. It's time for the party, but there's no one there. Fuck it. Start the party, baby. Everyone's sharing a dessert, and there's an extra piece. Guys, there's an extra piece. That's what I would do. You want to reveal that you like someone a whole bunch? No. I mean, at this point, I think everyone experience. I'm watching an anime called Kaguya Love is War, and it's very much all the high school romance garbage, and it's very fun. I think people, if you like anime, you should give it a watch. It's very silly, but it's very much stuff that that I wouldn't do anymore. So I would just fuck it, you know. I like, when you see a switch, do you feel an overwhelming urge to flip it every time? At the start, you fall flat on your face. Start over. No, dude, you just get up. It's fine. Do I like karaoke? I do. I do like karaoke. You're about to buy a popular game when someone else gets the last copy. That's annoying. I'd be bummed, but I mean, I don't care. Yes, that's why I'm here, actually. Now your aura will be analyzed. I don't know if you can read. I'll read it for you. Your aura is the energy that you radiate. Should I? I guess I'll do this for both, just so that it's readable. Press your. Oh shit. They told me to breathe. Your aura has been identified. Green? Green has zero relevance in my life. My go-to karaoke song? It's Push by Matchbox 20. That's funny, and it might be it might be now. I've only done karaoke twice. One was in college, and the other was at a bar for a friend's birthday. Ba 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 ba. Ba ba ba. In college, my karaoke song was "Can't Wait to Be King" from Lion King, because that song slaps. And then at my friend's birthday, it was let me actually move that down. There you go. That's not behind any of my other overlays. Okay. It was 9 Days, Absolutely Story of a Girl. Was that? Because that's also a fun song. I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. I recognize the name. But I don't think I would know that song without listening to it. I Will Survive by Gloria. Let me hold on. I can't. Okay, should I pull up the song? I don't want to look it up because I'm afraid my OBS will lose its shit and crash. I'll look it up later. There you go. You seem to be the bold type. It's the one when their ex-boyfriend is an alien. Whoa, what? Pajama stream! Woo, it's Charmander time. You welcome. You just got to the part where I think they're deciding what personality type I am. I'm not shy about asking to take home all the leftovers at restaurants. That's not what I said, but okay. Something you do, no problem with ordering lots of good stuff. Only if it's my work. And you aren't fazed by doing things that most others wouldn't think. Okay, that one's true. I wish that you seem to be the bolt type. A truly great person, because you'll be the last one to stand. I don't. That seems like a bad statistic, but it's fine. A Turtwig. What, is it because my shit was green? Is that why? Oh, I just get to pick? I'm not allowed to pick myself? Is this one of the games where I can just say screw it? Oh god, guys, who is my partner? Oh god, there's a lot of options. Okay, so we have Eevee, Shinx, Riolu, Fanpy? That's an interesting option. Vulpix, Skitty, Meowth, Munchlax, and then we start getting into the starters. Charmander, I am hoping that it will let me choose to be Charmander, because I will just say, no, I don't want to be Turtwig. So I'm gonna say Charmander will not be my partner. Because in Super, at least, it says, do you think this is right? And then I say no, and I just say, no, I'm gonna pick who I want to be. Torchic, Totodile. I can't help but notice that so okay. List of things I know about this game. I know what one of the major items is called. I don't know anything else about it. Just know that the name of it. I'm not gonna say it out loud. I know that Grovyle's in this game as like a third-party character, or not third-party, but like a third. He's in the game and relevant, and that's probably why you can't pick Trico as a partner in this game, which is very interesting, and that might be why they have like these other guys at the beginning. Okay, chat. Do you guys want to pick my partner, or do you want me to just go with what I feel is because we're also gonna have to name them. So what does chat think about my picking my partner? Let's go back to big screen since nothing else is happening on bottom screen anymore. You just can't pick a partner of the same type as your starter. I think that's the goal. So I'm gonna go off of this and hope I can pick Charmander, and so I won't pick a fire type. So Vulpix, Cyndaquil, and Torchic are off, and Chimchar are off the table. I guess Chimchar eventually becomes fighting type, but if it's like other PMD games, then you don't evolve very soon. I don't know. You're a grass starter, so that's why you don't have any grass type option. Oh, okay. Well, okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna pick Charmander, and then just hope it asks me. Sure, Charmander's fine. Wait a second. Does it not let you pick? Does it just give it to you? I want to be Charmander. Is that actually how this goes? Hold up. That's some bullshit. Okay. I'm gonna be Charmander. I'm not okay. I'm gonna cheat then. In the next, okay, so in Infinity is when they started letting you do that. Okay, well I'm gonna cheat then because I thought that it was gonna let me. Cause I'm not gonna lie, it's really fun that it does that, it picks your stuff, but also since there's a whole pool of questions and it doesn't ask you every question, I think it's kind of lame. So we're gonna all right, let's open Pandora's box and see how this quiz even works. There's some cheat sheets on the internet for how to get certain Pokemon in the quiz. That's what I'm looking for right now. Because I'm wearing the Charmander. I know what I want. All right, look. See that's exactly why I have a problem with it. If it asked more questions, then I'd be fine. But let's do this. Remember I said it would awkward if I didn't get Turtwig, or if I didn't get Charmander at the beginning? I'm just gonna oop. Hey guys, we're playing Pokemon Mystery for the first time. Hold on, I'll just okay. Explorers of Sky quiz cheat sheet. Quiz guide. So these are the questions. Okay, so while I figure this out, chat, decide who my partner should be, since we've seen all the Pokemon that it can be now. This wiki page sucks. That's the quiz. I don't want the quiz. I want I want the answers. Oh my god. Trico is always... I do really like Trico. I guess we didn't see all of them because I got the okay. Give me the answer. Here we go. I didn't think I'd ever have to do this, let alone on stream, but that's what we're doing now. All I'm seeing is the questions. I'm not getting how do I get please. Oh, okay, here we go. Riolu, Phanpy, Mudkip, Squirtle, Trico, Chimchar, Bulbasaur, Totodile, Piplup, Shinx, Torchic, Charmander. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay, so I want Docile for Charmander. For male player. Oh, it also matters what sex you choose? Okay, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna have this up to the side for a second. Torchic, Trico. I do like Trico. Riolu, fighting types are always good. True, especially since the car. Is this Gen 4 Pokemon? Or is it Gen 3 Pokemon? Yeah, fighting, because he eventually becomes Steel. I guess Steel was second gen, so it's Gen 4. Yeah, so Lucario, Steel type, could be useful. I guess also, again, doesn't matter because I assume they don't evolve until endgame. Whatever part you pick, you won't be able to evolve them for some time. Yeah, I kind of figured. That's kind of the rule here. Okay, let's make this happen. New game, but for real this time. I hope I get this in one try. Beyond this gateway, many I totally know what you're saying because I've played this game before. Beyond this point, I swear. Did you play Explorer? No, I did not. I don't know if that has a. You won a raffle. Is that one of the questions? No, it is not. I can't believe it. At a great bargain price. Oh god. Hold on. Let me pull up the other one now. Control F. Great bargain price. This is me cheating. I've now become a performer, and where none of this is honest. I have a really important test tomorrow. What do you do? Guys, I'm getting real unlucky. I'm sure it's fine. That one's actually true, by the way. Have I ever blurted something out? Bruh. This might not be the one. No, that's not true. There's a rumor about the ghost haunting. Here we go. Okay. So this is finally on the thing. We want scary bathrooms. You hike up a mountain. Oh god. Hiking up a mountain. Wide. You're about to buy a popular game. I guess whatever. The people at the next table are singing someone's birthday. Singing for someone's birthday. Guys, I don't know if this is the one. I got one docile question. Post game. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I guess we'll roll it and then I'm ready to reset, but oh, I didn't hold it. Oops. Whoops. Not my fault. There we go. My aura is identified. If it's red, we could still be good. It's blue. Okay, I'll let it ride and we'll just see, and then I'll reset the game again. You're welcome. Timid. Well, that's bad. Cyndaquil, that's, I'm real close though too, which is just a bummer. I refuse to take no for an answer. Oops, guys, the game crashed. Oh, what a shame. Oh no, whatever will I do? Doesn't actually change just based on the color theme of your DS system. Oh, well, that's a good question. I'm not sure why they are like that. Welcome, this is the portal. Oh man, this is the first time I've seen this portal. Wow, weird. That's so strange. Oh gosh. Oh, okay, I guess I did play them. Is that a problem, actually? Should I see if that's a problem? You're more likely to be asked questions that will increase your chances of becoming one of the newly added starter Pokemon. Okay, so it just gives, okay. I'm not bummed by that one. Okay, your friends are making plans to hang out just out of earshot. Is there a result for this one? Oh, that's a bummer. I just, well, one of the questions I got asked the first time, I could have gotten Charmander the first time, I think, if I changed my answers. Will they invite me to be fashionably late? Oh, I don't know. That's an honest answer. Of course. Oh, the birthday one. I don't think that one was. Yeah, I think we'll just do calm. Your friend offers to treat you to dinner. Bold, I guess. No, allow me. Toy bot. Toy you bot. Ah, arg. That one actually is kind of genuine. I would be so bummed. Have I called a teacher, mom, or dad? I have done that. Did something happen? I'm male. Okay, I think we got it. I think we got it, boys. We did it. What's my aura color this time on my DS system? It's still blue. All right, hit me with that recap. Oh, guys, I think we did it. Quick to pick up on things because you're so good at listening. You find your friends tell your problems and concerns often. Perhaps people laugh at you sometimes for being so earnest, not recognizing jokes for what they are. But you're always honest, at least surprised, bashful. That I just fumbled. It's fine. Hey, we did. All right. Okay, we can close those tabs now. I do think if I answered more honestly in the first quiz, I would have gotten Charmander. But the fact that you can get questions that just don't give you a certain Pokemon is just a huge bummer. Which is why I'm glad that they made it so you can just choose. Okay. Who's our teammate? So now we can pick Trico, Turtwig, Bulbasaur, and Chikorita. I do like Trico a lot. But I also like water types. How about this? Who's in the chat? How do I do a raffle in Twitch chat? Is that a thing I can do? And I'll let them they'll get to pick Twitch chat raffle. Moobot. Oh, does Nightbot have a random viewer picker thing? Maybe. Giveaways. Users. Hold on. How do I make this happen? Please let it pick any. Okay. Oh, okay. So so Nightbot is okay. Everyone in chat. Oh, here we go. Random number giveaway. Keyword active user. I guess random active user. Okay, everyone in chat, type 1 if you want the option to pick my partner Pokemon. Do I get to be on in this? Am I allowed? Keyword entry, random number generator. Anyone here can do it. Dude, a Niv, that'd be funny. I might remove a Niv from the option. I'll just do it otherwise. 1. All right, Clar, you're already in there. But thank you for participating. There's a Niv. He's getting his option in. Anyone else, or is Clar just gonna have to be picked? Is Clar gonna have to pick my starter? Careless Dragon, what's up? We're picking our starter Pokemon, and I'm raffling it to viewers in chat. And I'm giving it about 2 minutes for people to type in the chat to become eligible for a raffle. Yeah, we're picking our partner. Today's the pajama stream. Welcome to the stream. If you're just showing up, I have a pajama redeem for a pajama stream that got redeemed on Thursday, and I decided I have a wheel that I spin, and it landed on Charmander, so I'm playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon today. I've been live for 40 minutes, and I have not even started the game. You'll pass on this one? Why? What was that? I mean, you don't have to, obviously, but if you don't want to, then that's fine. But I am curious. Because at this point, it's just Clar. So if no one else wants to throw up on here, then it might just be Clar, and I might not worry about the raffle, you know? I'll give it until 1:47. So a minute. Because I got a feeling that it's gonna be Trico. if Clar picks, it's gonna be Trico. My imagination. I'll go ahead and roll it, even though it's just Clar, just so that Nightbot announces it to the chat. But oh yeah, you're okay. We we got another contestant. I am gonna mark Aniv as ineligible. We got about 30 seconds for anyone else to type in the chat if they want to go. And I will be naming you get to pick the starter, and I will be naming the starter after whoever wins. 147, I'm rolling it. 50-50. Who's it gonna be? Clar! There you go, Clar. You get to be the Trico. Never lucky. It was a 50-50. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. I did have both you and Clar eligible, so sorry. Maybe next time. All right. Trico, and that's gonna be Clar. Gecko always prevails. Okay. Where you at? All right. You're ready to go. Let's go. All right, Clar, we're going on our adventure now. Chapter 1. A storm at sea. Whoa! Are you okay? Don't let go. Is this Titanic? Come on, hang on. No, I can't. Hold on. Should I do it? Should I do like genuine voice acting attempts, or should I just like read it? Oh shit, that looks unfortunate. It's gonna be some Link's Awakening vibes. Oh, let me I'll go ahead and give some double action, double view action. Where am I? Oh, it's me. Hello. Ugh. Oh, dead. Dead. Oh, look at you wandering around. We'll go back. Nothing's happening on top screen. It's just no. I refuse to be paralyzed by this any longer. This is it. I have to steal my courage today. Pokemon detected. Whose footprint? The footprint is Draco's. Wah! That was too shocking. Okay. I can't work up the courage to go in. I told myself that this is the day, but I thought that holding on to my personal treasure would inspire me. I just can't do it. I'm such a coward. This is so discouraging. Oh god. Sad. Clar, no. You can do it, Clar. I believe in you. Did you? Oh, is this the shit team of this game? Get a load of that. You bet I did. That little wimp was pacing around. Had something good, right? It looked like some kind of treasure. We do. It's I'm assuming there's a third team member. Okay, this is so there was rescue team, and then darkness and time, and then sky, right? Do the bubbles. This is fun. There he is. Wow, what a pretty sight. When the weather's good, the crabby come out at sundown to blow bubbles. All those bubbles catching the setting sun's rays off the waves. It's always beautiful. Well, we'll go ahead and get the double action for this. This is where I always come when I'm feeling sorry for myself. Dude, this is sad. It makes me feel good to be here, like always. Coming here is uplifting. It cheers me up. Oh my god, is that a body? What's going on over there? Wah! I'm so relatable to me. Someone's collapsed on the sand. What happened? Are you okay? Hi. You're awake. That's a relief. Where am I? You weren't moving at all. I was seriously worried. Do you remember how you ended up unconscious out here? I wasn't. I mean, yeah, that's. You woke up. That's. What happened? I'm Clar. Glad to meet you. And who are you? I've never seen you around before. What? You say you're a human? Wow, he really just came out swinging with it. You look like a totally normal Charmander to me. It's true! Oh my god, I've turned into a Charmander. How did this happen? I don't remember anything. You're a little odd. Gee, thanks. You pulled some kind of trick on me. You're telling me the truth? Alright then. Your name? What's your name? My name is... Draconayr. That's me. Draconayr is your name. Okay, well you don't seem to be a bad Pokemon at least. Sorry that I doubted you. More and more bad Pokemon have been turning up lately. Many Pokemon have gotten aggressive. Things have grown somewhat lawless. Oh shit. Oh damn! Dude just got mugged right in front of my eyes! Clar, I'm sorry. Oh shit. Well, I do beg your pardon. Hey, why'd you do that? Can't figure it out? We wanted to mess with you. Can't face up to us, can you? What? That's yours, isn't it? No, that's... Sorry, it's ours now. There's lots of noises in the dialogue. Whoa, not gonna make a move to get that back? What's the matter? Too scared? I didn't expect that you'd be such a big coward. Come on, let's get out of here. See you around, chicken. Hee 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 hee. Alright. We really are just gonna let them walk away, aren't they? Okay. Oh. What should I do? Beat their ass! That's what you should do! That's my personal treasure. It means everything to me. If I lose that... There's no time to waste. I've got to get it back. Can you help me? Yeah, I got you, bud. Really? You'll help? Thank you. Let's go. Alright, are we... Oh shit, we're going straight into a situation. Okay. Head to the stairway. As you go, you can attack enemies by pressing A. Enemies won't move or act until you do. Okay. I know the basic mystery dungeon situation. Okay, let's look at the controls. So we got walking, running. That's my menu. I haven't selected move to be a set move. Do I have any moves even? Oh, okay. Tree. Okay, Clar's got it. If you get bad cutscene paralysis, wait until you meet them a second time. Oh, great. Display log. B and A to wait and heal. Yo, you can do that in this game? That's sick. Can you do that in the other games? Am I just dumb? Okay, let me look at something real quick. Do I have moves? Shift moves. Okay, well. We're gonna do that. Switch set move. What? Oh, so you can pick one set move. Okay, interesting. Okay. I'm so used to like the newer ones that this old style is very like new to me. Ow! Whoops. I heard didn't. I'm gonna punch this guy over and over again. You can increase your walk speed in settings. Oh, really? Okay, I'm gonna do that. Okay. Options. Touch screen. Top screen is controls. Bottom screen. Clear map. Grids. Speed. Fast. Damage turn. Attack. Check direction. Okay. That's probably all I need to change, right? What is ground? Oh, it's checking the ground. Oranberry, huge. Did it say one-time inventory item? I thought it was talking about held items. I'm worried about how this game is gonna go. Is this one hard? Is this game hard? Am I gonna get my ass beat? It's called a Wonder Tile. There we go. Help, thank you. He is stronger than me. Man, I really do only get to pick one item, don't I? Is it because I don't have a bag yet? That's probably why. I'm gonna keep that, I guess. There's a few hard parts, but the basic gameplay is doable. Okay, that's good. It's all in my ear juice. Okay. I should reset my controls to be triggers instead of bumpers. I set my bumpers to LNR for some reason because I'm dumb. I missed! Oh god! You already know how much trouble trap tiles can cause. Yeah, I'm familiar. Oh, the stairs are up here. Okay, the map is a little hard to figure out. Red and blue rescue is harder, or maybe I was a dumber child. God, the Trico is stronger than I am. that's this situation. Trico, help, please hit him. Or take hits for me. Level up, huge. Oh, he leveled up too. Let's go, dude. How's the game volume? Is the game too quiet? Should I turn it up? I'll turn it up a little bit. Let me know if the game is too quiet or not. Connor's stats didn't change. Okay. I shouldn't compare stuff to how they were in the other game, probably, right? How you missed? You fool. Because okay, so the Wonder Tiles fix stat debuffs and stuff. So that must be Beach Cave Pit. Hey. Whoa. If it isn't our old friend, the Big Chicken. Give me back what you stole from me. That's my personal treasure. It means everything to me. Red and Blue Rescue Team must have been harder. There must be a reason why they only had the one witch dungeon while this went wild with dungeon effects. True. Treasure, you say? So that thing really is valuable, huh? It could be worth more than we'd hoped for. We ought to try selling it. Who knows? It might get a good price. All the more reason not to give it back. What? If you want it back badly. Oh, if you want it back, come and get it. Hee. Okay, we're fighting. I only have one move, so I guess I'll screw myself. Oh, the boss music is the same. Trico, beat him up. Absorb, huge. He's poisoned. Oh god, he's like... oh, okay. I thought he was gonna be like that the whole time. There we go. Tricked you into moving, you fool. Easy. That was an easy fight. Ow. We got roughed up. I hit you guys twice. Blast it. How did we get wiped out by wimps like them? Bah, here you go. Take it then. He throws it on the ground. It breaks. Don't think you're so awesome. Your victory was a fluke. It wasn't hard. What do you guys are wimps. Just remember that. We did it. It's my relic fragment. Am I ever glad I actually did manage to get it back? It's only because you agreed to help me. You're welcome. Thank you. I got you, bud. Clar, you can always count on me. Let me tell you that. Thank you, seriously. I only helped because I happened to be there. Was the right thing to do? I guess so. He's grateful. It's nice to be appreciated. Oh no, now I'm relatable to myself. Oh no. Here's what they stole. This is a relic fragment. Well, at least that's what I started calling it. But this relic fragment, it's my precious treasure. I've always liked legends and lore, but I always get so excited when I hear tales from the past. Don't you feel the same way? Hidden troves full of treasure and strange relics? Uncharted territories veiled in darkness and new lands just waiting to be discovered? Such places must be full of unimaginable golden treasure. And history! I don't know why that was its own sentence. Wouldn't it be amazing to make historic discoveries? That's what I always dream of. It's all exciting to me. So one day, I happened to come across my relic fragment. I admit that it looks like junk, but take a closer look. Oh, let me make that. Boop. See? That inscription forms a strange pattern, doesn't it? It's true. There's a strange inscription. I've never seen a pattern like that. Why? I'm not even a Pokemon. Why would I have seen this? There must be some significance to this pattern. This relic fragment must be the key to legendary places, to areas where precious treasure lies. At least that's the feeling I get. That's why I want to join an exploration team. This fragment must fit into something, somewhere. I wanted to discover where that is. I want to solve the mystery of my relic fragment. So earlier I tried joining an exploration team as an apprentice. But I chickened out. What about you? What are you gonna do now? You lost your memory and somehow transformed into a Pokemon. I guess he believes me. I think typically the party member just kind of goes along with it though, so it makes sense. Do you have anywhere to go and stay after this? No. If not, can I ask a big favor? Would you be willing to form an exploration team with me? I'm convinced that I can form an effective exploration team with you. So will you? After one mission, we beat up some schmucks. Please? Whoa! Okay. What should I do? You're recruited out of the blue? I don't know what an exploration team is. Should I join? Are you? What is that? Are you asking me out? Clar, are you asking me to dinner? Are you buying? Form a team. It's true. I do have nowhere to go. I don't have any clue what I should do next. Guess it wouldn't hurt to team up with Clar for now. Maybe I'll eventually discover who or what I am by hanging out with him. Okay. That's settled. Yes? Really? You'll form an exploration team with me? Thank you. We're going to be a great combination. Let's make this work. First, we should go to Wigglytuff's place and sign up as apprentices. Oh my god, hi, Atomic. What's up, my guy? What's up? Welcome to the stream. It's a pajama stream. We're playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And I am a Charmander. And I totally didn't cheat for it. Shh. That's where I need to train to become a first-rate exploration team. I'm sure the training will be very tough. But let's give it our best. Yeah! I don't know why we needed to do like the 90s sitcom freeze frame fist bump. I'd never cheat. Yeah, no, I don't cheat. And so, Clar and Draconayr formed an exploration team. This turned out to be their very first step into many fantastic realms of adventure that awaited their arrival. Interesting spot of narration. Oh, okay, the opening credits. I thought this was about to be something else. That looks like where the fragment came from, obviously. We'll sneak peek at that. Would you like to save? Yes, please. Saving your adventure. Please do not turn off the power. Save complete. Chapter 2. That was the whole chapter? Okay. Okay. I didn't even read the chapter. I was too blown away. Oh, you can see the... There we go. Okay. This is Wigglytuff's guild. To form an exploration team, you need to register your team here. Then you have to train until you become a first-rate exploration team. Yikes. Isn't there something that's just odd about this place? No. I've got Draconayr with me this time. I have to be brave. Now he's just talking to himself. Pokemon detected. Whose footprint? Trico. I have to be strong. You may enter. Someone's with you. So get that stranger to stand up there. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a robot or someone else. Am I going? They probably meant you, Draconayr. They said to stand up here. Okay. There's a grate covering the hole. It's meant so no one can fall through. Really strange. It looks like it will tickle my feet. Oh god. Get on the grate! Cox gun. Move! Sentry Dick. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give him like a squeezy voice. He doesn't know what I am. The footprint is maybe Charmander. Maybe. It's not a footprint that you normally see around here. That's so crummy. That's your job. Oh shit. Dude's about to get fired. Yes, but I don't know what I don't know. Okay. Are they arguing? What is that? It's true that you don't see any charm in any of these parts, but you don't seem to be bad. Good enough. Enter. Okay. Yikes. I'm so nervous, so jittery. I'm glad we're finally allowed in. My heart's pounding, though. Okay. There's a hatch that leads to the underground. Yo? Wow! Hello. Yo, it's the song! So this is Wigglytuff's guild. So many Pokemon. I wonder if they're all in exploration teams. Excuse me. Oh, it's a chatbot. Okay. Hello. It was you two that just came in, right? Yes. I'm Chatbot. I'm the Pokemon in the know around these pods. I'm Guildmaster Wigglytuff's right-hand Pokemon. Now, shoo! Leave the premises. We have no time for salespeople or silly surveys. Off you go, if you please. Oh god, he's... Your Lord and Savior Arceus is not welcome here. That's not why we're here. We want to form an exploration team. That's why we came. We want to be trained as an exploration team. What? Exploration team? It's rare to see a kid like this want to apprentice at the guild, especially given how hard our training is. Surely the steady stream of Pokemon that run away from our rigorous training proves how true that is. Oh my god, Ko! Thank you!
Needs more ferrets.
Thank you for the 17 months. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Charmander pajama stream. I do agree it needs more ferrets. Ferrets are wonderful. And I should add the ferret song to my my music playlist for fun. Yeah, thank you for the 17 months. I really appreciate it. Welcome. So apparently their training is rigorous. Excuse me? Is the exploration team training that severe? What? Well, no, it's not true in the slightest. Our training program for exploration teams is as easy as can be. Well, I wish you had told me up front that you wanted to be an exploration team. His attitude suddenly changed, didn't it? He's like, we're like whispering. I'm like, dude, something's weird, something's wrong. Okay, let's get your team signed up right away. Follow me. Oh, anything wrong? Come on, over here, quickly, please. Okay. This is the guild's second underground floor. This is mainly where the apprentices work. Team registration is this way. Come along. Wow, we're 2 floors under the ground, but you can see outside. Oh, please, hush now. The guild is built into the side of a cliff. It's only natural that you would be able to see outside. Oh. Now, here we are at Guildmaster Wigglytuff's chamber. On no account, I repeat, on no account should you be discourteous to our Guildmaster. Guildmaster, it's Chatot, I'm coming in. You should never be discourteous. I'm coming in, kicks down door. Holy fuck, Mom! Guildmaster, I present to you 2 Pokemon who wish to join our guild as apprentices. Guildmaster? Hiya! I am Wigglytuff. I'm the guild's guildmaster. You want to form an exploration team? Then let's go for it. First, we must register your exploration team name. So tell me your team's name. Oh, our team's name. We didn't think of that. What do you think we should call us, Steve? No, I'm not calling Steve. Pokepal. Okay. Shit. Clar, do we do another raffle for team name? I forgot about the team name. I'm not even gonna lie. Clar, what's our team name? What's our duo team name? Shit. I got nothing. I know it's not gonna be this default one. Fuck, man, I'm bad at names. Keith. No, I'm not naming we're not naming our team Keith. Shit. A Trico and a Charmander. No, I'm not. It's not gonna be Keith. Don't encourage him. It's like Keith but different. Kaith. Shit. What is fuck? Now you're just but now you're just anagramming Keith. Should I raffle? I feel like it's dangerous to raffle for the team name at this point, but I think I might do it just because I can't come up with anything. I think we're gonna do it. Let's get Nightbot back in here for a raffle, for a giveaway. All right. What if I roll with no eligible users? Okay, we got Vaughn. Oh, maybe not. Okay, if you want to have the option to name the team, type 1 in the chat. Otherwise, don't type anything. This is gonna be dangerous. Maybe this is a bad idea. I'm gonna enter myself. I will come up with something. Vaughn Co should be on there. There we go. I should be in there too. Gonna name the team Revenue Service. Team Revenues. I don't. That might be too long. Let's check. Let's see what the limit on this is. No, that's not okay. Is that really it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. You get 10 characters for the team name. Disabling channel point. Niv, get out of here. Get me in there. Get me in there. I'm allowed to be in this too. Yes. Well, it's not letting me be part of my own giveaway. Bullshit. Unacceptable. Whatever. I don't know why it's not letting me be eligible for my own thing. That's strange. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Team tax collect. I guess I can't add myself. Maybe, okay, I'll add a Niv. If a Niv wins, then that's me. I've decided. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll it because we've waited a little bit too long. Ko, you get to pick our team name. What is Clar's and I's team name? I will not accept a person's name. Sinister laugh. Mega Keith. Team Mega Keith. No. I will reserve the right to revoke your team naming privileges. If you decide Talagar. Okay, I will accept that. But I am curious as to if you came up with it randomly or if it is pulled from something. Because that does sound cool. Team Talagar. Unless I'm saying it wrong. Does that mean something, or did you just come up with it? Because it sounds good. I'm waiting for a response before I hit enter. Because if this is like a trick to make you and it actually means something bad, it's the name I use for all games where I need a company name. Been using it for years. Oh, okay. Got it from a dream. That's interesting. I like it. Team Talagar. Team Talagar. That's a good name. It suits us. All settled then. I'll register your team as Talagar. Registering. All registered. Yum-ta! Okay. Congratulations. From now on, you are an official exploration team. I present you with this commemoration. Wigglytuff set down a Pokemon exploration team kit. A Pokemon exploration team kit? Yep, it's what every exploration team needs. Quick, open it up. What do we got? Oh shit, it's our bag. It's our badges. There's an explorer badge inside. And a wonder map. And a treasure bag. There's all sorts of great items in here. That's your explorer badge. It's your official team identification. And there's the wonder map, which is a wonder of convenience. Haha, I'm funny. Finally, there's a treasure bag. It lets you carry items you find in dungeons. Your successes as an exploration team can lead to bigger and bigger space for your treasure bag. Can't remember much about the dream except that there was a dragon called Talagar. Oh, fitting. I'm a dragon. It's a very wonderful bag. Have a peek inside your treasure bag. She became a little British for a second there. I'm trying to not do that. Unfortunately, I never had that dream again. Oh, that's sad. The special band was inside. A sky blue bow was inside. Those two items are special. I'm sure they will help you on your adventures. Thank you. We'll do our best. Yep. But you're only apprenticing right now, so do your best to train. We will. Let's do our best. Yeah, another fist pump in the air. Woo! I'm method acting. This is your room. Great, we got beds. I mean, you will live here while you work for us. Things will start getting busy for you tomorrow. So rise early and start living up to our code. Don't stay up late. Go to sleep early tonight. That is all. Hop, 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 hop. I love birds that hop along the ground. That's very cute. Oh. Need to have a game where you loot a crossbow, but it's just a ribbon bow and a cross shape. True. Oh, okay, we're back to... There was the moon for a second, and now we're back to... That Earth's just a regular boat posed by an extremely... possessed by an extremely annoyed spirit. Oh, are you still awake, Draconayr? My heart's been racing all day today over the whole thing. I didn't read that all the way and then skipped. It's fine. I'm glad I finally made myself come here. I thought Wigglytuff would be scary, but he seems pretty friendly. We're going to experience all sorts of things starting tomorrow, but I'm not very scared. In fact, it's the other way around. I'm super excited about the adventures we'll face. It's an emote where you T-pose while buying. What are you guys talking about? It fell off a cliff. I mean, what? Get out. Stay out of this. I'm feeling a little sleepy. Let's give it our all tomorrow. Okay? Good night. Now I'm suddenly a princeling of the guild. I gotta admit, it's pretty exciting to be an exploration team, and it's fun to be friends with Clar. But first things first. Who am I? Who am I? How did I end up unconscious on that beach? I'm feeling sleepy too. Thinking about it won't help right now. If I do that, everything should become clear eventually. I'll surely get to the bottom of this in time. Dude, sleepy Charmander. Look at me. It's me. It's me. Look at me. I'm a sleepy Charmander. Save complete. Exploration team. Quick tip. You can save a record of your progress by climbing onto your bed. So whenever you want to save your progress... Oh, that's cool. The next morning. Hey! Is it chat on? Hey there! Rise and shine! He's going between, like... like 20s radio host. My head is pounding. Oh, it's a Loudred. Why are you still asleep? Wake up! Oh, is this our drill sergeant? Oh god. My poor ears. Snap out of it! I'm Loudred, and I'm a fellow apprentice. If you're late for our morning briefing, you'll be sorry, so move it. Guildmaster Wigglytuff has got a big temper. If you make him lose it, yowie, that would be one very scary scene. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. So anyway, I'm not about to get in trouble because you rookies got up late, so get in gear. Dude, look at me, I'm fucking dead. My ears are still ringing. What did he say? Something about getting ready? Oh shit! We signed up in Princess Wigglytuff Guild. Dude, it happened less than 12 hours ago. But that means we totally overslept. Oh god. You're late! Dude, you left 3 seconds before us. Hush! Your voice is ridiculously loud. Everyone seems to be present. Very well, let us conduct our morning address. Guildmaster, the guild is in full attendance. Holy fuck, Mom! Every time a door slams open, I will always think of that meme. And, and nothing will stop me. It's so good. Please address the crew. I should, I might make a channel point reward for holy fuck, Mom. I'll have to figure it out. Oh, like tapped out. Oops. Guildmaster Wigglytuff never ceases to amaze me. Yeah, you got that right. Looks like he's wide awake. His eyes are wide open, but he's fast asleep. Thank you, sir. We all value your words of wisdom. Okay, Pokemon, take our Guildmaster's words of wisdom to heart. Finally, let's not forget our morning cheers. All together now. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. 1. Don't shirk work. 2. Run away and pay. Oh, okay. 3. Smiles go for miles. Okay, Pokemon, get to work. Hooray. The 2 of them just left. What do I do? You shouldn't just be wandering around. You two come here. Okay. Thank you for giving me direction, because I was about to get super lost. You're just beginners. We'll have to start you off with this assignment. This is the job bulletin board. Pokemon from various regions post job requests here. You're aware that bad Pokemon are cropping up in greater numbers, right? Yup. Because the flow of time is getting messed up. Excuse me? They just dropped that on me. What? The float? What the fuck? I didn't know that. Yep, because the flow of time is getting messed up. It's wreaking havoc, right? Which is why lots of bad Pokemon are appearing. Yeah, okay, there it is. The flow of time? As in hours and minutes? Why does that make bad Pokemon pop up? What's going on? Precisely. Time getting out of whack has caused an outbreak of bad Pokemon. Perhaps because of all that, we have noticed an increase in the number of jobs. In addition, and it's unknown if this is because of time's influence, there has also been a mass outbreak of mystery dungeons. Can't tell if Charmander is arms crossed or holding a small plush. He's definitely crossing his arms, but I can see why it kind of looks like a plushie, because the shading on the tummy looks a bit different. Mystery dungeons. So, Connor. Let's not. You know how we got my relic fragment back yesterday? The place where we found it was a mystery dungeon. A mystery dungeon changes each time you go into it. There's a different layout and different items every time you enter. If you faint in the middle of a dungeon, you lose half of your money. You can even lose half of your items or more. Finally, you get kicked right out. They're very strange places. But every time you go inside one, there are always new things to discover. They really are fantastic places to go exploring. Well, you're quite informed, aren't you? That makes things much easier for me to explain. Jobs all take place in mystery dungeons. So, let's look for a job that you should perform. Ah yes, maybe this will do. Oh, really? Let's read it. Hello, my name is Spoink. An outlaw has run off with my most prized possession, my precious pearl. That pearl is life itself to me. I just can't seem to settle down if that pearl isn't in its proper place atop my head. But I've heard my pearl has been sighted. It's said to be on a rocky bluff, but this bluff is reported to be extremely unsafe. I could never go somewhere so frightening. Friendly readers, would you be so kind as to go to the bluff and get my pearl? I beg your help. Exploration team members. From Spoink. Wait a second. We're going to fetch an item that someone dropped? I would rather do something that's more of an adventure. I'd rather look for treasure, or explore unknown places, things like that. Hush! It's important that you rookies pay your dues. Now pay attention. I'll repeat the warnings again to make sure they stick. You'll be forced out of a dungeon and sent here if either of you faints. If either of you faints? Is that true? Shit. You lose half of your money, and you could lose half of your items or more. You best be careful. If you've understood all that, I suggest you get on with the job. If either of us faints, that's unfortunate. This must be the bluff's entrance. Spunk's mission description said the pearl is down. Didn't read it. Didn't read that all. It sounds like serious dangerous place. Let's be careful. Let's do our best. Pro tip, don't die. Yeah, you got it. I just won't die. You and your partner can now hold one item each. Now that you have a treasure bag, you can also keep 16 items in your inventory. Try to avoid drowning. Some items like bows work only if held by Pokemon, so okay. So now we're back into standard strategy. Try to avoid drowning, yeah. I am a fire type, so that would be very unfortunate. Do I know what floor my shit's on? Trico is very much gonna be... Can I decide what moves my party members use, or is that a future game situation? Yeah, I don't know. I'm aware, okay. Why did that turn the screen black? What? Team Clar moves. Okay, I can. Okay, here we go. What's he using it? But if I set it, then it just said, okay, so I can only have one set move, and then this is activating whether so I can't take control of my partners like I can in the other games, I assume. So then that's just the moves he uses. I'm gonna stick with Pound and absorb, especially in this dungeon. Others? That's just the other setting, and then on the ground, okay. Okay, and then that aura energy, does that do anything? Boost special attack. I guess I'll give that Clar. I don't know if it does anything, but I'm taking the special attack because when I get Ember, it's going to be more useful. Eat an apple or a gummy if you get hungry. If you get too hungry, you'll risk fainting before long. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that mechanic, I'm not going to lie. There you go. Trico, help! Clar! Stun Seed. Stairs. The map is kind of hard to see the stairs on. Team members will earn experience points when they defeat an enemy, and they'll level up when they earn enough of them. Okay, I'm sick of the tutorials already. Level up, huge. How come you leveled up to 7 before I did? What? Or unless I'm about to level up too. Nope. Heal's poisoned. Are there special effects in this game? Like, am I gonna have a tough time because I'm a fire type? Because I just played Rescue Team DX fairly recently, and I was very carried by the fact that my partner had the ability, the steamroll ability, so that not very effective moves didn't matter. Dead end. At least I can just like walk through my party member. There's no Pokemon in here. There's my level up. Ember! Let's go! Oh, so much damage. Huge. Oh, it is still only one space, though. Are all the moves in this game going to be one space? $42, dude, the one move is like already like crazy. You could already be a higher level than Trico. I'm not, I'm level 6, or I was level 6 and he leveled up to 7. Dude, I'm crazy strong now. The special band this early on, I'm just one-shotting everything. Unless that happens. Some moves are whole room, some are 2 spaces. Okay. So I guess in the other games, Ember is... Where's my belly meter? How do I know if I'm hungry or not? Oh, okay, it's in the menu. I'll just keep going. In the newer games, it's the Ember became a 2-space move instead of a single-space move. Okay, so I already did that. I'm already kind of ahead of the game at this point. So we're just moving on. Damn it. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Hello. Hi. Said you can change for the top screen's information, map and party status. The set move can't be used. Oh, did I get hacked? Why am I out of PP? I must be, right? I am. How do I? Can I not pick?
You've stepped on a kobold trap. You are immediately subjected to the sound of a kobold going yap.
How do I? Okay, let's do this. How do I change what the top screen shows me? Top screen. Team stats, text log, map, and team. That's just the stat. So that's the same, but I mean, I think map and team is probably the most useful. And then I can take the map off of the bottom screen. What does the shaded map look like? Okay, is there a way to pull up a menu to use moves? Because, like, running out of a move and then just not being able to, like, use it without going to the menu is annoying. Or is that just how it's going to be for the whole game? B? How do you mean? I guess I'll next time I go into combat, I'll figure it out. B is back. Because X I can go into the menu. But it doesn't matter, I'll figure it out later. Oh, look at that! This must be Spoink's Pearl. I'll drink some water. We did it. Thank you. That pearl must be propped in my head. I missed it so much. I just couldn't settle down without it up there. It'd be to set a different move when you run out of PP. I just don't want to go in the menu every time that happens. I was just boinging and sporinging everywhere. That's why I'm covered in dings and bumps. Thanks to you, that nightmare is over. You have my sincere thanks. A protein, cool. And a calcium. And an iron. And 2,000 money, jeez. Wow! All this money for us? Of course, that's nothing compared to my pearl's value. Farewell. Okay. Thanks, I guess. We're rich! We got rich just like that. Well done, team. He could have bought a new pearl for 1,000. Who knows? Hand that money on over, if you please. What? Huh? Most of the money from jobs goes to Guildmaster. And your team's share of the money comes out of this much. We keep 200? Dude, that's robbery. I had some like that. Highway robbery. That's a what? That's a 10%. I get to keep 10% of, like, that should be illegal. Well, that's the guild's rule. You simply have to accept it. Everyone, thanks for waiting. I finished making dinner. Come on, dinner's on. Sick. Food. Let's go, dude. Huge. I see. Why is Wigglytuff just hanging out? Okay, it's fine. I don't care. Excellent meal. I'm Stuff. Time to go to bed. Okay. Good night. Oh, we got the moon. I'm not gonna fall for it this time. There we go. Listen, wasn't today hectic? So much happened. But I'm relieved that our first job was a success. It was really upsetting how Wigglytuff's guild took most of the money. All of the money. It's just the cost of training, I guess. We can't do anything about it. We'll be really happy today that I was getting thanked by Spoink. I'm going to sleep. Good night. Chapter 3, The Scream. How many chapters in this game? The next morning. Up and at 'em. It's morning. Good morning. Dead. Would you like to save? Yes. Save complete. Boop, 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 boop. And 3. Oh god, is this gonna be a daily ritual? Time to get to work. Hooray! Alright. Still wandering around lost, it seems. Come with me. Well, I mean, I know what to do. 26. Jeez. Oh, God. It's gonna be a long game. Welcome back, Ko. I went and got the thing. And then the guild stole all of my fucking money. 10% is not okay. Illegal. Last time we did a job was from the board on the other side. Correct. Today we'll have you do a job listed on this side. How is this different from the job from the board on the other side? Take a closer look. Bitch, that's illegible. There are posters up for show a variety of Pokemon. Wow, they all look pretty cool. Are they famous explorers? Who are these Pokemon? The Pokemon posted here are outlaws. They're all shitty characters, and they're all wanted for committing crimes. Oh no! They're outlaws. Correct. So there are bounties on their heads. In other words, there's a cash reward if you capture one. There are so many aggressive Pokemon around these days that everyone's finding it hard to keep up with the problem. You're telling us to go catch these outlaws? You can't be serious. That's not possible. Dude, I've been a Pokemon for 2 days. I don't know what you want from me. Hehe, just joking. The bad Pokemon out there come in all shades of badness. Badness? Business? I keep going too fast through the text. Some of these Pokemon are completely wicked through and through, but there are also bad Pokemon who merely petty thieves, so you've got evil to naughty, and everything in between. So I'm sure we can avoid giving you a job catching a super bad Pokemon. So look over these posters, then pick a Pokemon that looks weak enough for you to bring to justice. You say some are weak, but they're still bad Pokemon, aren't they? I'm scared of dangerous Pokemon. I'm scared. It's all part of your training. You'll work through it, I'm sure. But I suppose you do need to be prepared to confront a tough opponent, so I'll have someone give you a tour of the facilities. Bidoof! My favorite. Dude, Bidoof is second only to Furret. Let's be real. You called? Ah, Bidoof. These are the new recruits that just joined us. Take them and show them around the town. Yes, sirree. By golly, I'll do just that. This is Bidoof. He is one of your fellow apprentices. I want you to pay attention to what Bidoof has to say and follow his orders. Off you go! Oh, shucks. I am overjoyed. Okay. Why is that? I'm glad to have members junior to me. I'm almost overcome right now. I might just blubber with happiness. Before you all signed on, I was the most recent rookie. I must show you around. Come with me, please. Okay. First things first. Here we have Krogunk. But to tell the truth, I don't have any idea what that Pokemon is up to. He always seems to be fiddling around with that big cauldron. Over there's the mess hall. If you look that way, you'll find the crew rooms. And that's the Guildmaster's chamber. Next, I'll guide you to the places outside the guild. Oh, so there is places outside. You can make a record of your adventure at the watering hole. Okay. You make a record of your adventure by going to bed at your guild. Seems you can make a record of your adventure here too. It's a handy spot when you want to record your adventure frequently. I'm a little saving goblin, so team uncompensated for real though. Let's be true. Yo, dude, the music here is bopping. Let's fucking go. All right. This is the main square for local Pokemon. It's called Treasure Town. I can tell you about Treasure Town too. That over there is Duskull Bank. We can save our money there. Is that a lobster? That over there is the Electivire Link Shop. That's where you can do things in Link move. Okay, so linking moves in this game is much better than it is in the other game, that's for sure. It looks as if Electivire isn't here today. Here we have Kecleon Market. You can buy and sell items there. Genghis Khan Storage. Items stored here will never be lost. If you have precious items that you can't afford to lose, store them here before you go on an adventure. And those are the basic places that exploration team visit. And that should do it. You sure know a lot, yes sirree, and that's good to know. Alright then, come find me when you're ready to go. Thank you, Bidoof. You've been really nice. Golly, you're embarrassing me. I'll be waiting at the guild's underground floor. Alright, I don't think we have enough items yet to worry about storing anything. But I think Crab, is there, yeah, it's a, fuck, what's his name? Fuck, give me a second. I forget his name. Corefish. You and your rookie is the guild. My name's Corefish. I'm an apprentice of Wigglytuff's guild. If you don't know what's going on or whatever, you can come ask me. What is this? I don't know what that is. What is this? Marowak Dojo has collapsed. Oh shit. The dojo will be resurrected to its former glory. That's the bank. It's a Duskull this time instead of the Persian, which is interesting, but I mean, I don't really. Welcome. What do you got? Apples? I do want apples. I don't have any money. Oh, my bag is full. Mr. Kecleon. Marilyn Azuro. Welcome, my younger friends. May I buy an apple? Most certainly. Thank you. Thank you, my young friends. You are admired. Okay. Cool. Those delightful children are brothers. Lately, their poor mother has fallen sick, so these youngsters come and do shopping for her. It's quite remarkable, though. Very young, they've stepped up and taken charge. Wait, I'm back! There was an extra apple. We didn't pay for this many. That, young friends, is a gift from me. Please share it among yourselves and do enjoy. Oh, that's very kind of them. Yout! Oh god! But then suddenly, what? Oh. What was that? I'm going to hear a shot for help just now. Dude, can I see into the future? Do I get visions? Dude, am I that so Raven? I can gaze into the future. Now we gotta look for an item we've lost. Let's get going. Interesting. Those little guys are cute. Oh, what's the matter? Did I hear a shout for help just then? No, I didn't hear anything like that. Hey, Kecleon brothers, did you hear anything strange just a moment ago? Nothing out of the ordinary. I didn't hear anything odd either. Sounds like Kecleon brothers didn't hear anything either. You must have imagined it. I'm positive. The way even on the DS, like graphics, the way it portrayed the scream and like with the line shooting through the black, it was very well done. It was very well done. I definitely heard it. That shout that I heard. There's no mistaking it. That was Azura's scream. Are you daydreaming? Let's move it. Okay. What is beyond this? Sharpedo Bluff. I'm gonna look at that in a second. Welcome to the storage. Yes, hello. Okay. So I don't know what this does. A sky blue bow with energetic aura. When held, this bow slightly boosts the attack, special attack, defense, and oh, geez. So all of it. Okay. I think I will leave that on him. Raises IQ. Permanently raises the IQ. What? Okay. I don't think I need more than 2 orange berries. Oh, that's right. My inventory got filled by the... We need to eat these. Boost special attack. Oh, do I have to eat that in the dungeon? I'll do that later. Orbs or TMs? Okay. Steel wing. That's expensive. Okay, I guess I'm good. I'm gonna buy apples just in case. 2 is fine. Oops, I didn't mean to. I'm done here. Okay, and then we'll go store the 2 apples. Okay, what's this way? Sharpedo Bluff. Oh, this is where the rock that we saw at the beginning. Steel Wing is effective like on flying or buffalo types. What's a buffalo type? I think you mean Ohio. On Ohio types. To taunt how broke you are. That would have been pretty. That would have been pretty sad if I found flamethrower, especially this early on. Treasure Town. I would have tried to sell everything I own, but it wouldn't have worked out. Okay, I guess we're going after. I don't see any other reason. What is this? Some Natu building. I think we're done here. Oh, there's the Azurul. What's going on there? Yay! Thank you. Please, it's nothing. What's going on? Hi! Oh, hi! Some time ago, we lost an item that's important. We've been looking all over, but we haven't found it yet. But Mr. Drowsy came along, and he says he may have seen our last item somewhere. He offered to help us look for it. We're so happy. That's great for you. Thank you, Mr. Drowsy. Oh, please. I'd have to have a cold heart to ignore kids in need. Let us be on our way to begin our search. Whoops. Excuse me. More and more bad Pokemon around here. It's hard to do good deeds. Somehow I get the feeling that it's not. He's a bad guy. Another dizzy spell. If you keep being difficult, it will mean big trouble for you. Oh, now I can see the whole picture. What's the matter? You're looking awfully grim. You want to tell me something? You had a dizzy spell, and then you saw Azurill being threatened by Drowsy, so you want to go rescue Azurill right away. It's an emergency? Well, you describe what sounds like an emergency, but well, it's not like I don't trust you. I just can't believe it. He seems so sincerely nice Pokemon. I really paraphrased that, and it didn't make sense. I watched the 3 of them go off earlier. They looked like they were having a good time, didn't they? You're probably just tired. Maybe that's why you just had the bad daydream. Was that it? No, dude. Drowsy didn't seem like a bad Pokemon. We're only apprentices. We can't just go do whatever we want. It's worrying, but we have to concentrate on our guild work now. Let's get ourselves ready to explore. Then we should find Bidoof. You are that so Corvus Squire. Vaughn, I hate it. Why are you like this? Bidoof's supposed to be waiting for us on the guild's upper ground floor. Let's go. Okay, well... Where does this go? Oh, this must go down to the beach. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I like that you can go to the beach where you ended up. I'm sure other stuff will end up there too. Oh, there's a map at the top. Okay. But thou must. Saving. Boom, boom, boom. This is an interesting team. Team Glee. All right, Bidoof. Let's do it. Let's pick ourselves a lawbreaker to find. We got your picks of the sorry bunch of characters. What should we pick? As your mentor, how about I do the choosing? Don't choose anyone too scary. Yes, siree. Eeny, meeny. Sanclair, updating listings. What's happening? Oh, this data is getting updated. It's being updated. What's going on here? The Outlaw Notice Board and Job Bulletin Board are set up on revolving panels. While the panel is flipped over, a Pokemon named Dugtrio swaps out the old jobs with new ones. Dugtrio? That's one way of doing it, for sure. Updating data is Dugtrio's duty. He tunnels his way to our guild. Then he flips the panels and updates the data. I bet Drowsy's about to end up on this board, right? This duty doesn't get noticed much, but it's very important. That's why Dugtrio takes such great pride in the duty he does. Is that so? Update complete, Sanclair! Swallow and Wurmple are my favorite exploration team. I should talk to them. I didn't talk to them earlier. Yes, siree, the data's updated. The list of outlaws has been refreshed. Let's pick one. What's ailing you? Are you shivering all of a sudden? I bet he saw Drowsy on this list. You really do have future sight. It's not cold here after all. Look at this. At the top on the left. I knew it! It's Drowsy. He's a wanted criminal. We have to get moving, or Zero will be in danger. Now what's going on? Where are you all off to? Doing our jobs! Yes, about them. After we left, we went looking for a lost item together, but I wound up all alone when Mr. Reggie went somewhere with his rule. I called and called, but they didn't come back. I got scared. Which way did they go? That way. Okay, we're going. Drowsy and Azurill went this direction? Yes. Draconayr, the Drowsy and Azurill you saw in your dream. You were saying you saw them in mountains places, right? I get the feeling that they're up ahead here. Let's get going. Mount Bristle. All right, let's go, dude. My Chop picked up the Oranberry. Fool. Oh, well, I didn't mean to. Level up, huge. Spider. Oh, I mean, Spinarak. Oh, Trika leveled up too, huge. Awesome, I leveled up. See, Clar level 8. Perish again. Oh, I need to use, okay. Can I look at stats besides? Check IQ. What the fuck does this mean? The Pokemon has the power to let rescue targets escape a dungeon. This is an essential IQ skill for exploration teams. Team members must always be able to use the skill as it can be turned off. What the hell is IQ? Okay, summary, here we go. Okay. AI settings. Okay, so I never want to eat IQ increasing items myself then? I always want to give that to... I guess it shows IQ there. Okay, 17, 17, 30, 16. 18, 18, 19, 18. Okay, so he... Okay. Special attack. I think Trico's a physical attacker, right? I don't remember. I haven't played with a Trico in a long time. He gets like Leaf Blade, so I think he wants to. I want him to be attacked. Player's care only matters in the post game when you can play as other Pokemon. Okay. Nah, is he special? Okay, I'll give him special since I'm wearing the. I'll definitely give him attack stuff anyway because I will not be using it very much. I think my defense was lower than his because he's the special band on. Who's attack? He definitely will take attack. Okay. So then should I give him the grass gummy? What do I do with IQ raising items this early in the game? Like, do I just give it to the? Miss? Oh, heck. Might as well just throw them in someone's belly. I kind of figured. Just anyone. I'll give them to Trico. That's fine. Significantly. Did Clar just get really smart? Nope. You're still the same amount of smartness. Congratulations. I'd save them if you can. There's going to be a shop where you can use them later. Using a fruit early to up your IQ isn't a bad idea. Okay. I mean, if there's not a bad decision, then I'll just save them for now. Ooh, an orb. The blowback orb. Okay, that still does a lot of damage, even though it's... Okay, Trico, you take care of that guy, please, and I will deal with... Why are you using Pound? Bruh. Okay, that worked out. I feel really, really strong. By collecting 16C and not submitting it all to the guild, you've committed tax fraud. No, it's the job. The money they get is from the job, not from just all money collected. Oh shit! Oh, tell that to the IRS. I don't think the Pokemon IRS is the same. This is like a... it's like a... it's a guild rule, not like a law, you know? It's not like a Pokemon law. And the rule specifically applies to money you get from jobs. So it's fine. The guild is Pokemon and the Pokemon is Nintendo. No, dude. If Nintendo ever sued me and I thought I was gonna lose, I don't know what I would do, because I just feel like my life would be over at that point, because I would just never have money again. Save red and blue gummies. Red gummies because most IQ abilities aren't very useful for player character, and blue gummies because you'll want a couple in stores later on without having to search for them. Keep telling yourself that when we show up on the bounty board tomorrow. Clark, if I would be proud to do anything with you, it would be that we've shown up on the bounty board together. That would be my crowning achievement. Hey, Clar, if you could use Absorb a little bit more, that'd be great. Thank God the enemies are all super weak. It's fine. You know what? Good point. Just gonna punch him. Butt cheeks! That did a lot. Oh, there's a blue. Speaking of, I'm gonna go ahead and use an orange berry and then grab that blue gummy. Known for being a litigious company, dude, for real. Is Y moves? No. X is not. It's whatever. There you go, we'll grab that. Blue gummy! Huge. He needs more IQ to use that. I haven't eaten enough green gummy bears, so my brain is not good enough. True. You need to get more your gummies, my guy. Actually, you handle this, I've decided. XI seed. There we go. Get me out of here. What's my health at? I'm good. Okay. You got this. I missed. That's unfortunate. Okay, back to normal. Dude, let's go. I don't know why you were using absorb on the last guy if your pound is that strong. Agility lowering moves in this game are broken. Are they, like, making you slower? Why did he run away? I don't. How do I throw items? Oh, there we go. It's left in R. Is this point over 50% of your income is unreported to the guild's tax service? Other Pokemon get 2 turns. I don't know if it works the same in the other games, does it? I missed. Why is this Dodo running away? It was weird. My income is look, I don't have to report money I find on the ground. You know? It's money you get from work. That's when it becomes a problem. Oh, there was a way to go up there. I'm dumb. Well, guess we're fighting this Starly. Take this. Might as well. Some Pokemon have the ability that makes running away easier in mainline games. In this one, it means that they try to run away when their HP is below a certain level. Oh, interesting. And that's what that green poof was. Oh, I didn't. Okay, no, it was a waste of time. Miss? Fuck. Leave me alone. Let me, give me a turn. Okay, I'm okay with him running away. I don't care. Help. Klar, beat him up. There we we go. Okay, we're good. We're chilling. Yeah, there we go. Get that absorb in. Level up, huge. Level 10. Is that another blue gummy, or is that smoke screen? I don't know if that will be super useful, but can now tell a teammate to act on tactic. Wait there. Oh, interesting. Passed over the white gummy. I guess I'll take it. Maybe I should. Yeah, I should eat an apple anyway because I spent so much time on this floor. Orb. Spurn orb. I don't know what that does. Asked me to beat up a scary guy while standing behind me throwing rocks. I feel attacked. I don't think I need to heal. God, having a bag this small is already becoming a problem. I guess I'll eat. It's fine. Might as well top off. What does the Spurn Orb do? Randomly warps enemies. I'm okay with that. Honestly, kind of worth. You can use items on the ground through the ground menu option without picking them up if you're standing on them. Okay, so that's how you do that. I feel like I use this one, right? Doesn't seem to dislike this gummy. Okay, so I guess different types. Oh, shit. Help. I can't help. Dude, use absorb. Thank you. There we go. That's what we like to see. There we go. That's what we like to see. Oh shit. Your turn. Use absorb. Dude, use absorb. Hello, welcome to the pajama stream. From YouTube. Oh, there we go. Okay, we can leave now. That floor sucked. Oh, we can just leave. I do want to rest. If I do this. Leaving. Do that, and then he rolled up on me. You are in the chat, yeah. That's true. Uh-oh, it's a dead end. Where is my lost item? Could you show me where the item is? Sorry, kiddo, your lost item is not here, that's for sure. My big brother. He's following us, right? Nope, your big brother is not coming. I'll let you in on a little secret. It was a trick. I deceived you. Let's not dwell on that. Here's a little favor I need to ask. See that hole? Well, there's a rumor that there's a trove of treasure in there. But as you can see, I'm too big to squirm in. And that's where you come in. Don't worry, just do as I say. Do that and I'll help you get out of here. Go on. Go in. Don't forget to bring back the treasure. Uh-oh, here we go. I'll take you home when you're done. If you keep being difficult, it will mean big trouble for you. Help! There it is. Looked up how it works. Whether a Pokemon likes a gummy depends on whether their type is or effective against the gummy. Okay, so if their type is effective, what is white? Is white flying type? What would white be? It's got to be flying type or steel. Stop right there. Oh, Claw coming up, rolling up on the game. Based on if match gives the most IQ, then a strong type matchup, then it proceeds down. So water gummy would be good for fire types. Okay. White is normal. That makes sense. That would make sense. Drowsy, you bully. How did you find this place? I can see into the future. We're Team Talagar, an exploration team. No criminal can escape us. We've been an exploration team for 2 days. You came to apprehend. Huh? Are you trembling? Dude, you say you're an exploration team, but you're total rookies. That's right, I'm a wanted Pokemon with a bounty on my head. But can you two do the job? Can you confront this outlaw and bring him to justice? Oh, Clar, come on. Yes, we can. We'd never lose to a bad guy like you. I've been chased by all sorts of exploration teams, but never a sorrier looking bunch than you two. This should be a laugh. Show me what you've got. I'm gonna throw seeds at him. This bitch is going down. Flying is the wonderful flying gummy. Okay. Okay. Hey you, Mr. Man. Causes hallucinations. Go to sleep. I missed. Help. Get stunned. I didn't mean to do that. It's fine. I want my sleep seed back. A mysterious power prevented its use? Bruh! Fine, I'll just... Oh, I get my ember back. Huge. Let's do this. Drowsy became a whiffer. What does that mean? Are there levels of is already a whiffer? Okay, so it's like a status rather than a... Oh, my seed's gone, isn't it? That's annoying. Roar! So I guess it's a status rather than your stat went down. Okay. Learning. I don't use status effect in this game very much. Dude, he's whiffing. Are you alright? You're not hurt, are you? I'm okay. Great, what a relief. Your big brother is waiting. Let's go home. Okay. For being so scared a scene ago, is very natural about that. I'm Magnazone, the primary officer in this region. Thanks to you, we have been able to arrest a wanted outlaw. We owe you great thanks for your cooperation. We will send the reward to your guild. Thank you again. Now come with us. Aw. Bert. You are under arrest. Can't believe you used smokescreen in front of us. Real. No, it's fine. It worked out. Meryl. Wah. It was so scary. Are you hurt? He's fine. Little guy hasn't been harmed in any way. That's a relief. Oh, is it real? I didn't read that. That's fine. You did this all for us. We won't forget what you did for us. Thank you so much. Come on. Thank you. I did it. I saved them. And I have the heckin' future sight now. I can gaze into the future. An enlarged treasure. Thank God. Oh my God. It has been painful to use the like a minimum treasure bag so far. It's been so awful. You can now carry more items than you could before. Wait, there's one more message. The special episode Bidoof's Wish has been unlocked. What? To play a special episode, select from the episode list on the top menu. If you would like to play the special episode, save your adventure and return to the top menu. I'm very interested. I've got the bounty from Officer Magnazone for the captured outlaw. Well done, you two. Here's your share for the job. It's yours to keep. 3,000, here we go! However, because 297... Oh, great. Oh, God. After all that hard work. But of course, it's all part of the training. And we expect just as much effort tomorrow. Dude, this is a scam. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've ever felt... Like I said, I've only played 2 of the other Mystery Dungeon games, so I'm going into this one completely unknowledgeable of what's to come. And I feel like this is by far the one that I feel the most scammed on when starting. Like the other one, you're in a school learning or whatever in Super, and then in the first game, you just kind of go straight into doing rescue missions. But this one is absolutely just stealing our money. That's all right. We managed to rescue Azuriel, and it's all thanks to you because you had that dream. We learned about Azuriel's trouble in advance. It's true. I can't explain it, but that first shout I heard, and that dream I had. We literally just saw this, but it's fine. It's all part of the training. It will also be part of post-training when you rank up. You will never get your money as long as Guildmaster Wigglytuff draws breath. That's such like a strange way to put it. Oh, that's funny. Game Freak just wanted to prepare kids for adult life. Absolutely, dude. That's some bullshit. And then his name comes onto the bounty board. That took place in the future. Why was I able to see something like that? What was that dream about? Oh, my stomach growled. Your stomach growled too. Must have worked up a big appetite. We were focused on our students Azuriel that I didn't notice at all. Let's go get dinner. Okay, cool. And then we see the food eating scene, I imagine. Yep, there it goes. Dude, look at that core fish. She's going. Munch. Look at me. I'm munching. There's me. He munching. Oh, thunderstorm. Oh, am I having a dream? Wow, lightning's intense. It looks like it's really stormy tonight. Hold on. You know the night before we met, Draconayr? It was storming that night. I found you out cold on the beach the day after the stormy night. Do you remember anything about being out cold on the beach? Can you remember anything at all? I wonder. There was a storm, but how did I end up unconscious there? Nope, can't remember a thing. I guess it won't be that easy. That's alright. Just try to remember a little at a time. We have to get up early again tomorrow. Let's get some sleep. Okay. Are you still awake? I've been thinking, dude, go to bed. It's the boy. Go to bed. I'm thinking over since it happened. That strange dream you had. Maybe it has to do with you personally. Huh? It's just the feeling I get. I'm sure I don't know any other Charmander who dreams of the future, and I've never heard of a human suddenly turning into a Pokemon either. That's why I think those two events are connected. I can't help feeling that way. The key to unlocking my memory. Was it in the dream? Even if that were true, how does it relate to anything else? I have no way of knowing what you were like as a human, but I think you must have been a good person. After all, it was a dream that helped us catch that bad Pokemon. That reminds me of what Chanot said. That the growing number of bad Pokemon was causing by time going out of whack. Okay. You know, time is getting messed up bit by bit all over the world. No one seems to know why, but everyone believes that the time gears are somehow involved. Okay, so that's the item that I knew existed. I don't know what they do. I just know that time gears exist. That's all I know. That we've officially hit all of the things about this game that I'm aware of. Oh, and then Grovyle exists in the game too. That affects time clearly. Yeah, it's not surprising. They say time gears are hidden in secret places around the world. Like in the forest. Or at a lake in an underground cavern. I've even heard that there is a hidden altar inside a volcano. At the center of such places, is what's known as a time gear. Time gears serve a very important function. Each one protects time and keeps time flowing properly in its region. Ferd walking in the rain. Oh, was that Grovyle? Is that the boy? What happens if a region loses its time gear? Jump the gun a little, but now it's Du Bois. I don't really know the answer to that question. There he is. That's him. That's the boy. I guess is that if a time gear is removed from a region, the flow of time in that region will probably stop too. That's why everyone makes sure to never to disturb the time gears. Everyone has long been certain that some kind of disaster would strike. So everyone stays away from the time gears and doesn't tamper with them. Even the most hardened criminal Pokemon know to avoid messing with them. Do my eyes deceive me? Could it be? It is. I found it. A time gear. This is only the first of many. Interesting. Nearly 11 for me. I'm going to head off and get some sleep. It's been great catching more than a few minutes of one of your streams. Furret? Yeah, Furret. It's the Furret walking in the rain. Do. Yeah, I hope you sleep well, Ko. Thanks for hanging out. I tried to stream earlier on Saturdays for exactly that reason. I hope you get good sleep. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Thank you for naming my my team Up and Atom. It's morning. Good morning. Would you like to save your adventure? Yes. Let's save and I'm very interested in this Bidoof shit. I have to know. Bidoof's wish. All right, here we go today. All morning cheers. All together now. Oh, there's us. Get to work. Hooray. Come here. Let's do our best at the guild's assignments today. Okay. Draconayr's team. They're so happy today. I'm not giving up either. My name's Bidoof. I'm an apprentice at the guild. Before Draconayr arrived, I was the newest apprentice. My dream is to do my best at the guild, study, and someday I'll be the best explorer ever. Special Episode 1. Bidoof's Wish. That's right. My dream is to be the best explorer. I'm very interested. Can't believe you're missing out on the chance to make a speech quirk yap yap. Do you want me to go? I'll go yap yap with him. To do that, I've come to the most famous place among explorers. I've come to train the Guildmaster Wigglytuff's guild. Yup. Well, I'm off. Please say hello to everyone in the guild for me. Yup. Oh, and be careful. You're kind of a big eater. Don't you go eating anything weird. I need to take a second. Hold on. My head itches from the hood being pressed down with the headphones, so I just need to like recover for a moment. Okay. Chillin'. We're chillin'. Hood back up. Charmander, engage. Okay. There we go. Charmander, engage. All right. Remember, if you get in trouble, you can always come back to us. Mama. Do your best, big bro. Take care. You guys. I'm fine. Don't you worry about me. Yup. When I come home, I'll be big. I'll make you proud of me. Just wait and see. By golly, everyone. I'm off. Do your best. Oh, they're all waving. Oh my god, I love it. So I left my hometown and entered the Guildmaster's Guild as an apprentice. But the training at the guild for me was more difficult than I thought. Hey, not yet. You're slow, Bidoof. Yes, I'm here. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Here it is. Here's your reviver seed. What is this? This is a doom seed, isn't it? No, genius. Bring me the right one. Didn't matter what I did. I would always mess it up. And then another time. Crunch. I wonder what this is. It's so yummy. Oh, Bidoof, what are you doing here?
Huh?
Oh, that is the Guildmaster's important perfect apple.
Perfect apple? Is that what this thing's called? It's so tasty and impressive. Yup, yup.
Oh no.
Thanks for the grub.
Oh, wait, did you seriously eat all of them?
Yup. Yup, yup. Oh, sorry. Did you want one too? If you would have told me, I would have left you one.
What? What did you do?
Okay. Uh-oh. Did I do something wrong?
More than wrong. If his favorite perfect apples are all gone, the Guildmaster. Oh no. Oh no. It will be horrific. As punishment, you'll go without dinner. Got it?
Oh, but... Golly, I didn't mean it. My hunger just gets me into trouble, and I couldn't eat my favorite meal of the day.
Dinner?
Golly, I thought I was doing my best, but I always mess things up, every time. I guess I just don't have what it takes to be an explorer. I'll never be the best explorer, I just can't do it. I was really beginning to think that... But then... That happened.
Three, blah, blah, blah. Get to work. Hey, Bidoof.
Yes? What is it?
Today's assignment. Please go to Draconayr Market and find out how many oranberries they have for sale today. Huh? What's wrong? You're always doing little errands like this. It's nothing too difficult.
Golly, it's not that. Just that I always seem to be running errands. What I really want is to get exploration assignments. Yup, yup. Don't you think I can do a job from the bulletin board sometime?
What? This isn't a joke. If I let you do one of those assignments right now, how badly do you think you would mess it up? Oh no, dude, this is sad. This is so sad.
Then I'll the story of my life. Yep.
No, dude, this is the story of a girl who ran a river and drowned the whole world. Bidoof, don't be so impatient. You're just a little slower than everyone else.
Golly, you don't have to be so direct.
No! I'm sad. I'm so sad for this character. But I know the day will come where you'll get to do exploration jobs. Now Bidoof is the most relatable one. Dude, it's just, it's crushing. It's crushing. We're not 3 hours into the game. I'm already doing a side event, and it's just so fun, you know? If you want to be a top explorer, you'll have to start somewhere. Do your best and work hard at your training.
So you're telling me I just need to be patient? By golly, I get it. I'm gonna work hard, yup.
That's right, just like that. Now that you get it, if you could go run that errand I mentioned, please go to Draconayr Market and find out how many oranberries they have for sale today.
Yes, sir, yup.
Why do you want to take harder missions if you can't keep the money? It's true, though. It's like, there's no point, dude. The special episode Bidoof's Wish stars Bidoof as the main character. You will progress through the story with Bidoof as the playable character, so just as Tad requested, head to Draconayr Market in Treasure Town. Also, you can save your progress at the Watering Hole or Bidoof's Bed. The Watering Hole is at the intersection just down the stairs from the guild. When you want to save your progress, please go to the Watering Hole or Bidoof's Bed. This is incredible. I don't think the other games I played had this. This is incredible. I say Bidoof would mess up less than the guild's income theft percent. Dude, for sure. Hold on, where's the... Where can I find my own characters? Hold on. I gotta find Charmander and Trico. Or they've gotta exist, right? They've gotta. I bet if I go to the right, it's just gonna take me to the... Okay, I didn't know I could explore the halls. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, okay, so there's only 3. Okay, so I'm not there, I guess, for some reason. Unless this is before... Clara and I show up, which it might be. But I guess we'll find out. You can also read Bidoof's diary in the main game. In the like when I'm playing as myself, you mean? You weren't at roll call. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm assuming. I'm assuming that this is before I show up. Maybe if I go to the beach. Nope.
Nope, not this way. I always seem to space out and daydream. It's not good at all. Golly, I really should be careful. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize going the wrong direction would get so existential. Corfish. I wonder if Trico's around then somewhere. There's a camera up. Here's the dojo. That is not crumbled anymore, so this is absolutely before I show up. Customers. You came all the way here, but Marowak Dojo is closed as of today. However, one day, definitely, I'll be reviving it. Definitely reviving it. This dojo will be closed beginning tomorrow. I'll give this to you. In remembrance of the failed Marowak Dojo, Bidoof received a reviver seed. Oh, cool. Remember the dojo whenever you look at it, okay? Definitely coming back. Oh, okay. So it didn't physically collapse. What is that? I want to know what this is. This is a Wigglytuff situation there. Or Chansey, rather.
Here's Cocktail Market. Hello!
Trico might be at Torpedo Bluff. I was gonna go there next.
Howdy.
Welcome to Kekleon Shop. Have you come to shop?
Not quite. Sorry to bother you, but I'm not here to buy anything.
Just acting out inventory, as always. So disappointing. That's alright. Don't worry. Inventory inquiries are no problem. What have you come to check on?
Oranberries? Really sorry to bother you. Sorry.
Dude, Bidoof is the most relatable. Are you fucking kidding me right now? I hate this game, but in the good way. It's no bother at all. Let's see, Oranberries. We have 2 in stock today.
2 of them. Okay, thanks.
Do your best at work.
Is there something else? No, well, there's nothing nor I mean to do. I just have a little problem.
Oh, what kind of problem? It's okay to ask me about it. Come on, spit it out. They sound the same. They're twins. They sound the same.
The truth is that no matter what I do, I always seem to mess it up.
I am busy and cannot watch, but I am sending this thoughts, prayers, and good vibes. Well, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it.
I'm always making mistakes at the guild. I really want to be an explorer like all the other apprentices in the guild. For example, to become an explorer really quickly. What should I do?
Oh, if that's it, you just need to TM.
TM?
That's the way? Yep, with a TM you can learn a new move. If you did that, you'd be very helpful in explorations. You will definitely be helpful. How about this one? Hidden Power. Interesting.
That sounds pretty strong.
That's right. It's a very strong move. If you use this TM, you can learn Hidden Power.
Is that right? If I learn Hidden Power, then I could be more useful. The guild members would appreciate me more. If I buy this, then the day I become the best explorer will get closer. How much is this Hidden Power thing?
I'm excited. The price, let me see. 6,500. Damn.
What? It's that expensive?
You're surprised? TMs are very expensive. But you think that's too expensive, right?
No. Please hold on a moment. What should I do? Should I buy it? I don't know. To tell you the truth, I've got the money, but I've got my own money. I always carry it with me. 7,000. But this money...
But it doesn't even get to work on real jobs. He can't afford that. Well, he's got money from his mom.
This money.
Take this with you. It's a farewell gift. I always knew this day would come, so I've been saving up little by little. Please use it in case of an emergency. There. You were always a bit of a crybaby. Wow. Your mama's rooting for you. Even though you're going far away, you always do your best, you hear?
Mama, thank you.
Cute.
This is the emergency money I got from Mama, but I can't spend it carelessly. I considered it, but I'll have to pass.
Is that so? That's too bad.
Thank you so much for listening to me. Anytime. If you change your mind, come back anytime. Now that you've said that, how can I ever make up my mind for sure? Yep, but it's fine. Impulse buying isn't good. It's too bad, but I'm going to give up on the TM. Alright, scary. What should I do? Excuse me, hold this. Huh? Golly, what's this? Hey, you, wait. Oh, it's the Skyrim quest. It's the Skyrim quest line where they get the item from the guy. Give me 1 second. A new Bidoof.
A new Bidoof touches the beacon, yap yap.
A new Bidoof touches the beacon. I fucking hate that. Just now. What was that anyway? Oh, here's the gang. Do you see him? Bagon? Nope, lost sight of him. Blast! Where'd he disappear to? Hey, you! Yes? Did you just see a lone Pokemon run through here? A Pokemon? Let me see. We're in a hurry! Quit taking your time and spit it out! It's scary. Hold on, Gligar. White body, kind of looking nervous. Did you see him? That is... He went that way. They were pretty scary. I'm not very brave, so I don't want to have anything to do with Pokemon like them. Shit. Oh dear. Would you like to save? Yeah, I'll save. Hey everyone, thanks for waiting. I finished making dinner! Cheering, woohoo, let's go. Excited. Okay, yeah, this is definitely before... I do like the group dinner. It's very, very fun. Phew, today was really long. Those two are already asleep. I'll have to get up early tomorrow. Guess I should probably go to bed too. Yep, yep. Good night, you all. He's so cute. Dude, I love Bidoof. He's just such a good shape. I love Bidoof so much. Oh, he's snoring? Are you... I thought he was dying. You didn't like Bidoof racing when we were doing Majora's Mask. No, those are just normal beavers. It's not the same. Also, it wasn't the beavers that I had an issue with. It was the fact that I was trapped there. He will be if he keeps snoring like that. He's snoring too loud. I can't sleep. So, okay, question. Is he sniffling or is he saying the word sniff? Should I be saying the word sniff when I'm voice acting for this character? I'd like to wake Loudred up, but if I did that, he'd be pretty angry, and that's a scary thought. Speaking of scary, those two I met earlier today, they were sure were scary, yup. When you sigh, you must say, "Le sigh." Just before those two showed, there was that Pokemon that seemed to be running away and then disappeared. That Pokemon, he was probably being chased by those two scary Pokemon, but if that's the case, I hope he got away alright. That's right, when the Pokemon ran off... Hold this! Holy, what is this? We just saw this 2 minutes ago, I don't... Wait! Okay. Right then, that Pokemon handed me something. Right after those two scary Pokemon arrived, I was so scared I couldn't remember what happened. It's a Hyper Beam, dude. If this Bidooflin's Hyper Beam, no matter how I try to figure it out, I just can't. I guess I should look and see. This is pretty old. It looks like a map. Huh? Some kind of mark. It looks like there's something written. What could be written here, I wonder? Let's see. Star Cave. Seems there's a place called Star Cave. Star Cave, sounds enticing. Somehow I just get the feeling there has to be something really special there. Now I'm excited I can't sleep. Nope, I have to sleep if I want to do anything good at training tomorrow. I really should sleep. Good night.
I prefer Starcade myself.
Sleep. Yep, sleepy time.
Honestly, a miracle. I'm one of those people, I can sleep through anything, but getting to sleep is by far the hardest part. I have such a hard time falling asleep. But once I am asleep, I'm down. Oh, my throat's getting dry. I might have to stop soon. It's almost 4 actually, so we'll probably hopefully finish Bidoof's story and then maybe be done. Hey, get up! It's morning.
What's that?
How late will you sleep? The morning address is starting. Hurry up.
Whose fault do you think it is if I can't get up in the first place? The snoring made it really hard for me to sleep, but if I don't get up, I'll miss my morning address. I've gotta hurry.
Oh, we're saving again. That's fine. I should get a Bidoof onesie now. I've switched characters. And 3. Smiles go for miles. Okay, Pokemon, time to get to work. Huh? Something wrong, Bidoof? Quit staring off into space and get to assignments.
Chana, you know a lot of stuff, don't you?
That's right. I do know a lot of info. I'm an encyclopedia. Is there something you wanted to ask me? You don't have to hesitate. Go ahead and ask. But please keep it brief. I don't really have time to dawdle.
I'm not really confident. Chana, do you know anything about a place called Star Cave?
Star Cave? Yes, I think I've heard of it.
Huh? Really?
Yes, of course I have. Didn't I just tell you that I'm like an encyclopedia? Well, Star Cave is a legendary place, but nobody knows where it is.
Nobody knows? Golly.
That's right. It's a legend that's been passed down for generations. The truth is buried in history, but according to the legend, deep within Star Cave, the rare Pokemon Jirachi lies sleeping. It's said that if you can wake Jirachi, he'll grant you a wish.
Huh? He'll grant you a wish? A wish granting rare Pokemon. His name is Jirachi?
Hey, it's only a legend. I already said that nobody knows where this cave is, didn't I? Hey! Hey, Bidoof. What are you thinking of, Bidoof?
If I meet Jirachi, he can grant a wish. That could be my dream. My dream to become the best explorer ever. Jirachi can make it come true, yup. And I've got that map with Star Cave marked on it. I got that map in my possession now. Right now, I'm the only one who knows where Star Cave is. Just little old me. This is so cool. So awesome. I'm so happy I could bust.
What does that mean?
Huh?
Are you alright, Bidoof? You kind of spaced out for a while, and you were smiling to yourself. Something happened?
Nope. Nothing at all. No siree. I wasn't thinking of anything. Not about Star Cave. Golly, no.
Is that so? You say you weren't thinking of anything, but that's a bit suspicious.
Eek! I gave myself away.
With that mischievous smirk, you had to be thinking of something, don't you agree? Like you were secretly excited about something.
That was the point.
Like you were so excited about something that thought you could just burst. No. How in the world did he know about that? Hey, Bidoof.
Yes, what is it?
You've got a visitor.
Huh? A visitor? Golly. For me?
That's right. They're waiting by the guild entrance. Hurry up and get out of here.
Okay.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Huh? You're from yesterday.
Yes, nice to meet you. My name is Snover. I'm really sorry to have caused trouble yesterday.
Never mind that. What about those scary Pokemon that were chasing you? Are you alright?
Yes, I'm okay, but the truth is I had a bit of a scary encounter.
What? Scary encounter? What happened?
After we met, I tried my best to run away, but Pigon and Gligar caught up with me. Ha, finally caught you. You really ran for it. Let go of me. Nope. You know what we're looking for. You of all people should know. Not here. The map's not here. Big on, he doesn't have the map. What? You, where'd you stash it? I don't know. Liar. No matter what you do, I'm not telling you. He has to have stashed it around here somewhere. Look for it.
Eek, that sounds pretty scary. Oh, that reminds me. That thing Big on Glegar were looking for, was it? That's right, that thing I gave you yesterday. The ancient map. Yesterday I was sure that if I held onto the map, it would get stolen from me. So I decided that I had no choice but to hand it to someone. And then I saw you. Afterwards, I asked around Cheshire Town about you. They all said it was probably Bidoof from this guild. And so I came here to thank you. I'm really sorry to have caused you so much trouble. No, you don't have to apologize. Don't worry about it. By golly, I've been thinking about that map you handed me. Is it really a map to Star Cave?
That's right. It said where the rare Pokemon Jiranchi lives. That's Star Cave. If you meet Jiranchi, he'll grant you a wish. That's why those two Pokemon wanted to steal the map. Speaking of which, I have a request to make.
Yes? What is it?
Would you come with me to explore Star Cave?
What? Really? You want little old me to come along?
I love how he refers to himself as little old me. Yes, I really want to meet Jiranchi and make a wish, but I'm not strong enough to make it very far by myself, so I was hoping you would come with me. You seem really dependable and kind. There's nobody I'd rather go exploring with than Bidoof. But this is a sudden request. I hope I'm not bothering you.
No, not at all. Yep. The truth was I was thinking of making a wish too. It's okay. I really want to go to Star Cave too. Yep, yep.
Really? Yay, I'm so happy.
If we work together, we can definitely meet Jiranchi.
So that's how Snover and I decided to go. Oh,
That's how Snover and I decided to go to Star Cave together. Yep, yep. But I had guild training to do. So,
what? You want to take time off from guild training?
by time off, I just mean a couple days.
What is your reason for wanting to take time off?
Huh? Reason? The reason I want to take time off, oh, I haven't been feeling good lately. Yep, yep. My stomach really hurts. Ooh,
Your stomach hurts. You, the one with the cast iron stomach. Last night at dinner, you were the only one to ask for seconds, am I right? And now you're saying your stomach hurts.
I ate too much.
I see. This seems really strange. All right, your request for a day off is granted. Just don't cause any trouble for other teams.
Thank you. I ended up suddenly having to lie to Chatot, but it's alright. My dream. I can make my dream of becoming the best explorer ever come true. If I can do that, then maybe I won't mess up guild assignments anymore. And I won't cause trouble for anyone anymore. Everyone will be so happy. Yep, yep. This is a rare chance. I've got to take advantage of this chance. I've just gotta.
Dude, it's so sad. It's so sad. We should make sure we prepare before our outing, but I don't really want to do anything that would draw attention to me. Big on Glegar is still looking for that map. They might be hanging around here. It's kind of scaring me.
I've got it. Usually the exploration preparations to me. And you should hide somewhere, Snover. Stay out of sight.
I'll find a hiding place right around here. When you're ready to head to the dungeon, I'll slip away and join you. So once you finish preparing, please head for the dungeon. See you later.
Got it. Alright, I need to head to Treasure Town and get ready to explore. I'll do my best.
Okay. I have the Reviver Seed. He's level 10 with average stats across the board, and he knows Tackle. All right, let's see what to do here. Oh, hey, there's the Spoink. Why are these items all red? Oh, because I don't have any money. What? I thought I had money. He has $7,000. What do you mean? What's the point? I don't have any money. You want to use the storage? Anything you want to store, I'll take good care of. Do I have anything? I think this is my normal storage. Honestly, I'm kind of content to go in there blind, YOLO, you know? Is Trico out here? Trico is not out here. You want to spend the allowance Bidoof got from his mom when she called him a little crybaby? Damn, that's cool. Well, this is what it's for, isn't it? Right? You like your cracking up. I'm not cracking up. Okay, let's just commit. All right, Snover, let's go. Nope, not this way. This is the way he went, isn't it? What the hell? Where's Snover? Where'd he go? Bruh. Should I be going the other way? Did he just go this way to hide? Okay. Due to time going wonky, you got all the items from the side stories in your main story storage. That's a deep part of the Mystery Dungeon lore and not a plot hole. Yeah? Is it now? Looks like we're ready. Let's go explore Star Cave. I'm a bit nervous. It's alright. We don't have anything to worry about when we're together. Let's do our best. I can't tell if you're being serious or not. Star Cave, let's do it. Okay. I guess I'll tackle set move. At least he's not weak. No, I was joking. I mean, it makes sense. I subscribe to that, to be honest. I'll subscribe to that. Bidoof is normal, right? And Bibaril is water. Dude, wow. Bidoof is kind of strong, not gonna lie. Oh, a shop. I don't have any money, so I can't buy anything here. But, that Pokemon in that last room just kind of appeared there. There's lots of stuff in this room. So, considering this is before the other stuff, I'm very curious. Oh, I can't afford that. I'm very curious as to how this ends up, since this is an event that I'm under the impression has already occurred. I'm gonna use an Oranberry. Sunny Hope changes the weather because you're taking a lot of damage. I mean, I'm taking some damage. It's not awful. If it becomes a huge problem, then I will deal with it. But at the moment, it's fine, I think. I'm taking 3 every few steps. I'm gaining 2 back. So I don't think it's really that huge a deal at the moment. You can also sell items on the dungeon with jumping the carpet if you need more money. Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. I also have 2 reviver seeds now. Bidoof kind of strong though. Radar orb. He's got that handled. Iron Thorn. Another shop? Dude, Kecleon is hanging out. Where's the exit here? What's going on? There we go. What a mess. That floor was a mess. What is this? Zinc band. Sure, I'll sell that one. Okay. I'll go ahead and use the Sunny Orb. I wish I had a move that would get rid of it instead of having to use the orbs. Whoops. There we go. Oh, what I should have done is, I should have rested while I was waiting. Oh, sick. 2 floors in a row? Huge, dude. That was big. Oh, is this the halfway point with the Genghis Khan statue?
You're going pretty far. Are we at Jirashi's place yet?
I don't really know either. It's probably close. We just need to go a little further.
Alright, let's dig our heels in. I'll do my best.
I don't have anything in the storage that I didn't, you know, whatever. I'm gonna get rid of the hail. Low kick? Oh god. I'm getting real lucky with these stairs in this dungeon right now. Oh, my belly just increased back to full because of the... Alright. Kind of destroyed the bonsly. So, not that was a bit rude, to be honest. Let's go left. Smack. I didn't kill him the last time. I don't know why that. Can Bidoof level up, or like have we just not hit the experience cap for that yet? That did a lot. Oh shit, it's hailing again. Max elixirs, huge. All right. Oh, it became clear, huge. Let's go ahead and rest. That's annoying. Huge. All right. Why does it keep hailing randomly? Rescue team Red and Blue had to go through the hardest, most unfair dungeon in the game while carrying out a rare item to meet Jirachi, and Bidoof just gets to go through some low mid dungeon where Pokemon get O-code from tackle. Dude, honestly, true though. Bidoof level up. Rescue Blue team, like I only played the remake. I never played the original. I do think the remake is probably better, maybe even easier than the original. But I never did those dungeons just because it's like, I think the Jirachi dungeon Wish Cave is like you start at level 1 and you have to go through all of it, and it's like, oh, Snover's ability, that's annoying. But like having to start at level 1 and then go through a 100 floor dungeon, like it's just so much. Like I don't want to go through 100 floor dungeons. Like 50 is pretty high in terms of how much I want to go through a single dungeon.
Huh? This looks like a dead end. It's the depths of the Star Cave.
And if you died, you lost the Wish Stone and had to find another one. Yeah, like I don't know if you needed the Wish Stone in the new one, but like it just sounds like a freaking nightmare.
Where's Jirachi? Who's there?
Gwahahaha.
Who's that?
You really are so gullible to come trustingly all the way here.
Who are you?
Long time no see. Haven't seen you since we met at Treasure Town.
What are you doing here? Jirachi's place in Star Caves. I thought me and Snover were the only ones who had the map and knew how to get here. Why are you here?
Jirachi was never here. Oh no, I've been betrayed! The only good thing about the dungeon was that you could take a TM Frustration with you and get a 45 damage attack right out the gate.
True.
That makes sense. What? Star Cave, Jirachi, they were all made up. They were never here from the start. That's what I'm saying. You were tricked into coming here. By us, you see.
What? Us? What do you mean us?
We're the band of thieves, Rogue. We're the band of thieves, Team Rogue. We tricked our marks and take what we want. We're thieves, we're rogues. Do you get it yet? We're the bad guys. And I'm their leader, the Great Snover. Well, luckily for you, I didn't have any items except for what I came down here with.
Eek.
That time when you were standing in front of Kekleon's shop stewing.
What should I do? Should I buy it? Tell you the truth, I've got the money for it, but...
Oh, and you put his money on the ground. Oh, God. Right then, we were watching you. from exactly 4 feet away. He's gonna beat you up and steal your lunch money. When you pulled up that big wad of money, what a mark. I suddenly had an idea. I thought that money was ours to take, but if we mugged you right then and there would have been an uproar. That's why we put on this little show, to lure you out here.
Then the story about Star Cave and Jirachi?
A complete fabrication. You see, we were pretty excited when we laid our hands on the ancient map. Wishes come true here, so we heard. We could get rich, so we came here to find out. Oh, so this is the proper location. But there's nothing here. It's just a dead end. We were so disappointed. It's just a fake. The map, that is. Still angry, we came to Treasure Town, and there you were.
Help.
Too bad. Your money. We're taking it. Prepare yourselves. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. We're gonna do this. Prevented its use! Oh shit, I'm dead, dude. There's no way. Oh no! Bidoof for Revive. Oh, because I have the Reviver Seed. Okay, I guess I punch. How much damage does the Iron Thorns do? Not enough. Thorns are based on your attack stat. Are they? Oh, that's gonna hurt. Dude, the powder snout, like, it's just worthless. You're going down next. Don't use powdered snow. I'm dead. I am revived. I still hit him. Huge. Huge. Bidoof is the tank, dude. What do you mean I won? I got cutscene cheated.
It's too tough.
I beat their ass. What do you mean? What? You're going to resist and make us ask? Hurry up and give us your money.
No, that money is very important to me. Who do you think you are?
Ugh, this one's really stubborn. Hey you, we'll take you by force if you have to. Wait. Oh, is Draconayr? Is Draconayr showing up? What? 1, don't shirk work. 2, run away and pay. 3, oh, is this Chatot? Is Chatot showing up? Oh no, it's just everyone. Okay. Wigglytuff's guild is here. Uh-oh.
Everyone.
You, don't you dare pick on our apprentice. You better be ready. What do we do?
Going up against the famous Wigglytuff's guild.
Wait, don't run away. Don't believe the worldwide reputation of rumors. Jirachi's not in this cave. Never has been. You're just scared of Wigglytuff's reputation of being really strong. Let's go, you guys. We'll take them on, too. I just beat you up by myself. Yum-ta. I just spit on my monitor. Oh, it's like a huge thing. Converge! Snover's going down, dude. Dude, he just one-shot the Gligar. Oh, he just put the Wigglytuff to sleep. Awkward. Doug Trio, whose team are you on? You're killing all of us. Oh my god, the Doug Trio just killed all of us. Strong. Maybe you should stop your wrongdoing. Are you alright, Bidoof?
Thanks, everyone. It was because you all came to help that I'm alright.
I don't feel like I should have brought the whole guild, but you know.
What are you all doing here?
Chatot told us we were acting strangely.
Chatot did?
You were acting really strange, daydreaming, and then suddenly you wanted to take the day off. So I talked to the guildmaster and secretly followed you to see what you were up to.
Is that so?
I will say this one thing. It wasn't because I was worried about you. Oh no, he's a tsundere. No, I didn't think I'd tag along because I was worried at all. You were acting really strange. I thought maybe you were deserting the guild. So I had to see for myself. That's it. This time Bidoof up for a quest with 7,000 reward. Bidoof only got 700. Yeah, right. Don't misunderstand. Well put. Well said, truly. When you told everyone about Bidoof, you really were worried about him. Be quiet. As for everyone coming along, at first I was going to myself and the guildmaster coming to your rescue, Bidoof. But in the end, everyone wanted to come along. Humph. Once we heard you were acting strange, we couldn't ignore it. We've always been strict teachers in your training, but of course we still care about you, Bidoof. So, we're just glad you're safe.
Everyone, I'm so happy. You did all this just for me. Here I've gone and caused you all trouble again. I can't seem to do anything right. Yep.
What? That's not true. Nobody could take on an entire band of thieves by themselves. That's true, I did beat them up. You've gotten much stronger. You've worried about failing, but that's how everyone becomes stronger. That's how the best explorers get to that way. So failure is nothing to be embarrassed about.
Guildmaster, thank you. I'm sorry for troubling you. From now on, I won't be afraid of failure. I'll be patient and do my best.
I bet the things were pretty second-rate, weren't they? So this is Star Cave. They should have just given up and gone home.
Huh? But there's nothing here, right? Cave just comes to dead end right here. Draconay's not here, right?
Hey, Bidoof. Did you forget? We're an exploration team. Don't make fun of the Guildmaster's guild. Oh, she's looking at the wall. She's doing the... looking for secret passages. Probably right around here. Ooh. I don't know why she suddenly turned into a ghost. Yum-ta. Did she just shoulder check? Dude, I think Wigglytuff just shoulder checked the wall.
The wall collapsed. There's a huge opening there. There's more to this cave.
All right, let's go. I bet that rare Pokemon Jirachi is there.
We should all think about what we're going to ask for. I'm so excited. Everyone, wait a moment. It's too bad, but not everyone can go ahead.
What? Why not?
This is Bidoof's exploration. What? Mine? My golly. Yep, Bidoof's. You're the one who's got this map. And you're the one who's adventured all the way here. That's why you should go ahead alone, Bidoof. Yeah, when you say it like that, that's the way it should be. We can only help you this far. The rest is up to you. Use your own strength and do your best to have a successful exploration. Guildmaster, thank you so much. Do your best. Tell us about your exploration later. Do your best. Everyone, thank you all so much. Dude, this is so heartwarming. Okay then, I'm off. Yep. I'll do my best exploring. Do your best. I really wanted to go. You can do it. There he goes. Anyways, you were cool today. You think so? Handing over the exploration was very generous because Jirachi will grant wishes. You could have made a wish for the perfect apples you can eat. Oh. Such a commanding aura. Everyone, a wonderful guildmaster. Best pupil is me, and don't you forget it. Yeah? Alright, I'm going. What? I'm going. Stop the guildmaster! Hold me back! Guildmaster, you can't do that! Oh no, what is happening? Oh no! Oh gosh, okay. Alright, that's fine. Star Cave, oh god, there's more? Shit. Let's try and get through this as fast as possible. Oh no, he lived! Okay, I'm okay with that. There's a tile right there. This is bad. I'm gonna have to use an orb. Oh, that's bad. Please wake up. Please wake up. Please wake up. Please wake up. Bidoof, please. Please wake up. Well. This is too tough. I'll try again. Okay, good news, it was the first floor. Can I save here? Would you like to save? Yes. Save and return top menu. Okay. It has been almost 3.5 hours. I do think I'm going to stop here. I think this will be my next game. I'm not gonna wear the pajamas every time, but it was a good excuse to start playing this game, so we'll blast through it, for sure. Well, there you are. There's our first pajama stream. I have 5 other pairs of pajamas that have not been seen yet. And I am enjoying. I mean, so far this definitely has a lot more content. HBO did an excellent. I should have held loads of edibles, but didn't mention teeth. Dude, the AI chatbot is just chaos. It's wild. It's so funny. But yeah, we're gonna stop here, and next time I will. Next time we will finish Bidoof's adventure, and we will keep going. I think we're gonna play this for the next. So in 2 weeks, I'm gonna leave that weekend for a convention, and I'll be gone. And then after that convention, I'll come back
and then that's when we're gonna start doing Spyro again. We're gonna play Spyro 2 and practice for the speedrun marathon in May. What are your thoughts on Bidoof? So for the next week or two, we'll be playing this and probably Elden Ring. We need to finish, and then Persona is always just kind of like a backup game. But yeah, we're gonna be done here. Let's see if there's anyone to raid, because I have to get dinner right now. I'm so hungry. I can't keep going. Jamie is playing Spyro. Owie is playing Factorio. Made to stream today. Okay. This is amazing. Speaking of Spyro, we're gonna raid Jamie. They're doing a Spyro speedrun, and they're wearing a maid outfit with cat ears. And we're absolutely raiding them. Because this is amazing. Really getting into Bidoof's story. You're right. I'm method acting again, even though I'm wearing a Charmander outfit. Let's raid them, because this is spectacular. Jamie, raid. There we go. Pokemon Brown starring Bidoof. I don't know about that. All right. If you're in YouTube chat, feel free to jump into Twitch and join the raid. Thanks everyone for hanging out. We're gonna play this more. I've been wanting to play all the Mystery Dungeon games for a while. So that was my list of things to do. But thank you everyone for hanging out. Thank you for the first pajama stream. Hopefully it happens more because the pajamas are comfy. Except these ones are the only ones that are like, ooh, kind of small. I hope everyone had a wonderful time. And I can't wait to play this game again. And I will see you guys later. Go tell Jamie that they're wonderful and compliment their maid outfit. Have a good rest of your day. And I will see you guys later. Hugs and kisses. Mwah. Thank you so much. Bye.